afternoon. I request the audience to please be seated. We are going to start with our next session now. Those who are sitting at the back, could you please shift ahead? Welcome back after the lunch. Our next session is on AI revolution in education, transforming learning. Audience, kindly settle down, please. I invite on stage the panel members, Dr. Bhushan Garware, Senior Technical Solutions Consultant, AI, Google. Dr. Praveen Bhamre from TCS. Dr. Prashant Pansare, Founder and CEO, Rubyscape. Mr. Amit Zadhav, Director, Model-Cam Technologies and AI Coach. And our panel chair, Mr. Aditya Jhunjhunwala, CEO, Let's Enterprise.
Okay. Good afternoon. Lunch ho gaya hai na? So I'm going to try once again, okay? Good afternoon. Wonderful. How many of you think AI is a hot topic? Can I see a show of hands? It is, right? So because we have the post-lunch session, I'm going to take a 1-minute liberty and I'm going to ask everybody, when I say A, please put both your hands up and make an A, okay? Right? We're going to do this because we need to get some blood circulation. So, A. I. Just one hand up. Come on, everyone. A. And I. Okay, just needed to do a little bit of movement. Welcome to Industry Needs Academia. And this discussion on the transformative potential of AI in education. Today's panel, we have Mr. Praveen Bhamre, who is the Enterprise Solutions. As he's been an advisory member at several educational institutes and a passionate volunteer in educational programs like Pro Engage and projects like that. He is dedicated to leveraging his expertise for the betterment of education and community development. So a big hand for Mr. Praveen Bhamre. We have Dr. Bhushan Garware, who is an AI consultant at Google, specializing in artificial intelligence at Google, and a strong connection to academic campuses throughout his career, and he's deeply committed to nurturing the next generation of tech innovators. So a big hand for Dr. Bhushan Garware, please. Like our DG Prashant said in the morning, it doesn't cost anything to clap loudly, so let's have a big thank you. We have Dr. Prashant Pansare, who is the founder and CEO of Rubyscape, a company renowned for its culture of entrepreneurship and innovative thinking, and he believes in the transformative power of data, calling it the new soil that promises endless possibilities for growth and innovation. So big round of applause for Dr. Prashant Pansare. Thank you. And we have Mr. Amit Zadhav, who's a serial entrepreneur, author, keynote speaker, coach, and actor. And the director of Model-Cam Technologies. He's an advocate for creative and analytical thinking, and he has an extensive experience in leadership, AI in sales and marketing, and brings a unique perspective to the intersection of technology and business. Let me quickly take a seat and let's begin this panel. So I'm going to throw an open question to all the panelists and request you to take a short, maybe 2.5 minute answer. A very simple question. Can AI really transform education? What are your quick thoughts on that?
Well, let me rephrase this question. AI has already transformed education. How much and how we would like to embrace is the choice that is left to us. And AI is not only about the Gen AI or the Chat GPT and things like that, but it is way beyond that. When we look at the holistic education approach and holistic approach towards skill development or career management, what education field has been doing, I think AI has a lot to offer, but it is like a two-edged sword. It is up to us how we look at this and how we also retain the focus on creativity, empathy, human skills, problem-solving abilities. You know, these are things that you can't expect from AI. But what it can do is, AI or digital will not discriminate, right? Be it gender, be it the region, location, your literacy, prior literacy levels or level of income, it is for all. So if you look at what industry is looking at is primarily skills, not only education. But when you're looking at skills, the technical skills and the soft skills. Now look at avenues for soft skills development. Thanks to the emergence of digital and the AI technology, it is no longer a rocket science. Anybody can get in there, right? And we have been talking since morning about the traditional educational approaches and the AI. So rather than repeating that, let me give you some different examples that how it can help. If you look at the so to say form of an art being displayed through TikToks or the Reels kind of a platform, understand now you have a light camera action, the film institute at your fingertips, and if you actually see that every household, every young or probably an aspiring actor, how they're being able to transform. Look at their sound effects, look at their light effects, look at the motions that they infuse in those short, probably a minute and a half kind of videos. Now see that what skills can do, and then how you are mixing some of the technical skills, and not only to fulfill your urge, but that is a big business, right? If you look at it from monetization point of view. So we do have other eminent panelists as well. They'll bring out the views, but I feel AI is here to stay for long. The choice for us is that the choice is not at why, but it is when and how.
One thing I just wanted to say, how AI is impacting education. I would like to start on a very positive note. I remember in education, when there were advertisements for coaching classes and all that, they used to put a very good line saying that Vayaktik Laksha Dila Jai, Vayaktik Laksha, right? And now we see that, I also studied in government school and all. In India, is it really possible for a teacher to put a Vayaktik Laksha to every student? It's not, right? But now you can see AI can actually do that stuff. And especially for countries like India, where teacher is there and 70 odd students are sitting, is it not possible to give that Vayaktik Laksha, right? But now think from that perspective. Now AI tools are evolving, an amazing opportunity for personalized learning experience. Teacher will take their sessions, but now every student can have a personalized assistant learner along with them, and this is going to be a game changer. Everybody can learn with their own pace. There would be personalized recommendations, support for them to learn the topic, and I think students will definitely benefit from that. This is a big change that I'm observing.
Thanks, Bhushan. Please, Amit. Your view, can AI really transform education?
So like Dr. Prashant has said, it's already here. Last week in Florida, a university has now officially announced that they're one of the first AI universities in the world. And what they have done in the last 5 years is adopted every point of interaction that a university does with AI. It's a very interesting case study. I feel that this entire segment of what we are talking today needs to be broken into 4 segments. One is the students, other is the professors, the teachers, third is the university, and fourth is the industry. And if we can divide, have a compound effect of that implications and adoption, it will be a vibrant thing. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, one of the universities in Orlando has made it compulsory for their students to adopt to a particular policy. And I hope that we'll come to that later. But what, in Maharashtra, there's a very famous surname, particularly in Pune also, it's called as a Panse. Anyone here by the name Panse? Panse? आपल्याकडे एक पानसे पद पण आहे पुण्यामध्ये. So very simple for the students, it is Panse. P is personalized learning. Simple how you learn with your own skills. Like someone like me, who is a student, not great grasping capacity, if I've got tools to learn with my skills, my pace, my structure, it will help me. A. Second is access to technology. It's so easy. 74.5 crore people in India today have access to internet. 46.3 crore out of them are using it on a mobile phone. And almost about 11.5 crore as of 31st of March are already using AI tools. Some of the other AI tools, including Google and of course Microsoft Copilot. So A is that access, which is very much there now in India. Okay? And N is network learning. I think this is for the professors also. See, there are tools like also ask.com, Callz, which are research AI tools where you can create your research papers very intellectually with professors of similar domain globally. And they're all connected with one single AI tool. Okay? And then it's about N, that was network learning, and S is scheduled way. What I mean by scheduled way is, if today I take up an activity to create, let's say it's a university, they have an admission process. It's like a 3 months process or a 4 months process. It will get reduced by 30%. That's what the research says. Okay? And E is engagement, of course.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that framework with us. Praveen, from your perspective?
Actually, there is no choice whether AI is to be used by academics or into institutes. If we look at, from TCS perspective, any customer we interact with, they all are under pressure. Under pressure for meeting the demands, because globally everywhere, in all the businesses, the demands are huge. If we look at year on year, every year costs are increasing. And if any industry has to sustain, they are always looking for opportunities to optimize their operations. And without help of AI, they cannot achieve it, right? They cannot remain in the market. If we continue doing what we are doing, then we'll be out of business very soon. So all our customers are demanding AI. Because our customers are demanding AI, we have no choice but to get them trained, get those skills built into our teams. Rather than building those skills into our teams after they join us, why not shift left the same adoption of skills, right? AI skills at institutes itself, rather than waiting for them to come back. So the way businesses are transforming, I see a lot of opportunities for educational institutes as well to transform by leveraging various AI tools which are available in the market. A lot of universities have already started adopting those. And the institutes which will not utilize it, they will remain in the game. They will be behind in the game, right? India being highly dense, populated country, we have a huge talent available. If we don't fulfill the global demand, global industries will start moving outside India. The way it has happened with China. From China, they are now getting attracted to India. If we don't catch up in this technological space, we'll be behind. That's my view.
Wonderful. So just to quickly summarize, I mean, some interesting perspective. Prashant is saying that human skills, we need to focus on the human skills. So that's something that came out. Praveen, you're saying that it's not an option, it's already happened. All our clients are already demanding it. And Bhushan, you brought out this aspect of personalized learning. So I think that's also a very interesting theme. And Amit spoke about, having a structured approach and shared the Pansar framework with us. So Panse framework with us. So I think that's some really interesting themes that has come out. The question that I want to throw at all of us is that AI is a buzzword, right? And from an academics point of view, from an academia point of view, If I have to ask you, the question that we often hear is that, oh, we had recently a business plan contest at Let's Enterprise, and students were coming up with business plans generated by ChatGPT, and project submissions are coming up by, made by AI. And honestly, I think it's great. But the question that I want to ask is that if we are saying that AI is here, and all of us from an industry point of view, what would we like to tell academia in terms of what skills should students actually be trained for? Everybody cannot be a data scientist. So what is one or two skills that you would suggest that students should be trained for this if they have to benefit from AI and be able to innovate with it?
So my 2 words there is creativity and communication skills. These are 2 skills which are very important. But you actually covered the gamut of things in AI, and let me bring in a perspective that why AI is timely today, not only because our Prime Minister is going gaga about it and is speaking about it on almost every forum, that AI will actually change the landscape. For technology industry, India has potential and is already fast marching towards becoming a global AI talent supplier. Creates a huge opportunity for academia to get into the bandwagon of the talent and skill development for AI. But why and how AI can really transform this, way of academia? Focus is shifting from teaching to learning. And when we are saying learning, it is self-learning for the student, but machine learning and deep learning for the machines on the other side.
Right.
Personalization, or, when we are saying the virtual assistant. Let me give you an example so that you'll understand. Cognitive sciences is something that can be, and that is a branch of, again, data science that deals with the human ability or the brain capacity. Now, just think, when we were kids, we are taught alphabets, we are taught objects. If I have to help a younger student to learn to draw a circle, what is the word association? A sun or a tire, or some other object, or a bangle. When I'm teaching them alphabets, A for apple, B for bat, C for cat, A for apple. Now understand, sometimes you are restricting your teaching methods only to one word of association. And an international study has proven, if you give them 9 different options,
right?
A for aeroplane, A for apple, A for this, A for that. So 9 options if you give them, and if there is, students are picking up randomly what is their liking so that they can remember. We are actually, sometimes forcing things on the memory management. Now, understand that you are learning all the alphabets, and can you then draw a pattern that, okay, Prashant is a foodie guy, and you give him word of association for the food, then probably his grasping is faster rather than traditionally, teaching him B for bat. Maybe if, B for berries is his better way. Now, understand that is the cognitive science that also helps you understand in profiling that what this individual is, and then you do the personalization. Right. Personalization is not that, you buy an individual gadget and then you're hooked up with it.
Yeah. So you're speaking about opening up and creativity and innovation. Fantastic. Praveen, your thoughts. What is the skills that academics should actually be focusing on teaching students so that they can benefit from AI and leverage?
In my view, in this generation, a lot of kids are actually adapting faster than the faculties which are teaching them into the classes. So rather than teaching certain particular topics which students already know, in my view, the focus should be given more on the experiential learning or learning on projects. So
Right.
project-based learning, right? There are a lot of opportunities around us, a lot of challenges they see when they start from their home, reach to the institute, or they go to their hometown, they just travel around. Tons of opportunities where AI can significantly impact.
Right.
So what I will agree with Prashant, the more focus should be given to the creativity and the abundance of opportunities available. The staff should motivate those students to apply their learnings, what they are learning on their own, using various opportunities available, various platforms available, right? Nowadays, even a kid which is probably 2 years, 3 years old gets attracted to the gadgets, right? They know how to start, stop. They know how to open the YouTube and play the music. Even the kids who cannot speak, they can handle the mobile devices. Or the uneducated street vendors, they are now operating all those wallets, right? Even though they do not understand the numbers, but they are able to operate it. Similarly, this generation is learning on their own. So what is needed is the opportunity to apply those learnings and come up with something productive as an outcome which impacts either society or industry around them. That would be my view.
Right. So experiential learning, project-based, and Dr. Bhushan, I would like to pass this to you. That how do we make this happen? I mean, you have experience at Google with AI, and you've also worked in campuses a lot. How do we make these things happen? Creativity, innovation, project-based learning. How to really make it happen?
Sure. So I would like to answer this in two parts. Like, let's think from a teacher perspective, what is happening and all that. So I love to teach a lot, and I go in colleges for conducting sessions. Many times I ask teacher, sometimes I feel like becoming full-time teacher because I love teaching a lot. And this response I get from teachers, they say, sir, don't come here because we don't only teach. Most of our time goes in many administrative work and all that stuff, and hardly we could focus on actual teaching the stuff. So here I feel that for teachers, now you have a golden opportunity. You should learn these AI tools to make sure all your repetitive administrative things, creating quizzes, creating assignments, creating all that stuff. And if you visit websites, there are ready-made prompts available for a particular task that you want to do, especially for academia.
Right.
So what a teacher do in his day or her day, these are the tasks, and you have a prompts ready for those tasks. Use those prompts, get your document created, get your PPTs created. By this way, you can save most of your administrative work, and then you can focus on the teaching aspect, which you love, and for why you become a teacher. So this is one advice, maybe. And second is, let's not use AI in isolation. Like, teachers are using AI for their purposes, students are using AI to finish their assignments quickly and solve the quizzes quickly. I think teachers and students should together use AI tools. What will happen that teacher will be able to help them. What are the loopholes? What are the limitations? Look how answers are wrong. Plus, teacher can make a point saying that, students, I'm your teacher. I know AI tool exists. So don't use this to finish your homeworks and all that. When two students and teachers together are using AI tools, then something exciting will happen, and then teachers would be able to actually embed a thought in students' minds saying that you have to do beyond what the tool are giving you as an answers.
Right.
For students, I think nothing to teach. They already know many things. What we need to do is to teach them use those tools in a responsible manner. And that's why the role of the teacher will come.
Right, right. Thanks, Bhushan. Everybody is saying nothing to teach. Huh? We are a room full of teachers and academics over here. Amit, anything you would like to share?
Yeah, so I will just iterate the first part of your question.
Yeah.
It's we remember the 1903, the Wright brothers, the first innovation of the flight which happened. But 150 years before that, a Sweden scientist, mathematician called as Daniel Bernoulli had written the formulas for that. Okay, what the Wright brothers did is, in 1903, they put a 12 horsepower engine on that, and it just went boom. AI is that period today. It was already present since 1954 when the first chatbot, Zeeli, was there. OpenAI has given it that moment of the Wright brothers. So it has been already there, but now we are more aware because it is a B2C where everyone can interact with it, which was not there before. The second part of the question, which rightly Praveen has mentioned, is the ownership lies with the professors and the teachers. But more important than that, I'll tell you, last year, I think March, the chamber had invited me to conduct a masterclass on AI for businesses as to how businesses can grow with AI. And I said that today's customer is more aware than the salesperson. Okay? The same formula. So when a customer walks in, if you walk into any shop for a car, let's say you want to buy a car, like, you already researched 85%. Right? Am I right? 85% already researched. You don't want a sales guy to tell what is the engine, what is the color, what are the options. You already done that. In fact, your kids have done that more faster than you and given you the points to look at when you go and buy a car. Now, the same adoptive thing is happening with the students. And at times, trust me, because I've been teaching also, it's one of my passions, I have met professors one-on-one and they feel highly insecure.
Right.
They may not accept it, but they feel highly insecure as to how do we match the pace of technology getting adopted? Because they are great in their content, they're great in the skills. So, I feel, you know what, you talk of today of chat GPTs and all this, you know, AI tools, but every university, and take it in writing for me, I'll tell you why. In 2017, I was invited to deliver a talk on IoT, Internet of Things, at the PMI convention. And I said that in next 5 years, every person will have a smartwatch. And when the BP shoots up to the level where heart attack is infectious, it will automatically call the ambulance. And by the time the ambulance will come, the HDFC life insurance and LICs will start on putting ads over there. You know, it's happening. And that's why I'm saying, take it in writing for me today. Next 5 years, every university who is really going to exist will have its own chat GPT.
Wow.
Okay? Otherwise, they will not sustain.
Interesting.
And I think the academic year starts from June, July now, right? June. You have got April, May, right? 60 days. I think it's a great, I think one of the I don't know about what is the structure, but one of the takeaways would be to have a university and professor engagement plan of at least 50 days as to how the professors can adopt on different structures of AI tools.
Very interesting.
And have an objective that this we should achieve before the year starts.
Right.
That's what I feel.
Right. Wonderful. So some inspiring words. Now, I'm going to do something different. Today's meet is about industry meets academia. And since the morning, we have been hearing academia saying industry needs to, come and engage and create projects. And industry has been saying that, students are adapting very fast and the faculty needs to do and so forth, right? So one of the big challenges and problems that has been thrown up today, and Bharat also mentioned that in his opening talk, that how do we create so many projects? How do we create so many internships? Right? You spoke, Praveen, about creating experiential learning and go and do project-based learning. So I would like to throw one challenge to the panel here that all of you are from industry. Can you think of what can be a project? Maybe a 2-month or a 3-month project or internship from your own experience, your own industry, that can be given to students to run, where they have to deploy some kind of AI and they have to, create some kind of an output. So can you create some kind of an imaginary project? I think it will be useful for all of us to hear what kind of projects can be created for students to actually engage.
Sure.
Yeah,
go
please
first?
go for it.
Okay. So as I said, there is no dearth of projects. It is just we need to look around with open eye. Sitting in a room, we can find out 100 different projects, which will help optimize operations of this hall itself, right? There is a lot of excess light, maybe the temperature control, right? And the project should not be the discipline limited. Gone are the days, mechanical engineer is mechanical engineer, or electrical engineer is an electrical engineer. For example, why do we need a cameraman sitting here in today's technology world? Someone can take this as a project, the whole recording happens automatically, right? Very simple projects. Anything we look around, there is no dearth of projects. And I completely agree with Amit. Those 60 days of the gap between the previous academic year end and the new academics starts, there are a lot of companies like TCS who are running faculty development initiatives. We have been working very closely with VIIT. There have been a good number of initiatives we have driven with COEP as well. But we see that very limited interaction. And in fact, when I was meeting with one of the vice chancellor, there was an idea. You send your 10 or 20 leaders from your team, let them be part of academics, conduct the lectures, share their experiences, and we exchange our 10 faculties, you put them on projects. Let them learn hands-on.
Wonderful.
Right? So if we put faculties on live projects, in fact, I would like to share one experience, again with VIIT here, not because Bharat is sitting here, thanks to Dr. Atul. We, being friends, just discussing one day, why should we work only between academics and industry? Why not bring in NGOs into the equation?
Right.
So very creative project with Happy Thoughts, which is one of the NGO. What we did, there is no dearth of project. Within 2 years, students from VIIT have delivered 100 various projects
Wow.
within 2 years, and which are being used by that NGO at no cost,
Amazing.
right? And this is three-way model. TCS works with NGOs as a part of our CSR activity. All other companies are working. We work with academics. We provide mentoring or internships. What we did, we clubbed three together. Unfortunately, we were working on one more experiment. We could not take it forward with Dr. Atul because of certain challenges. Instead of NGO, let's bring in industry.
Right.
Why not to work together with industry? Let the creativity come from the students. Let the faculty experience come on the table. And we all three work together,
Wonderful.
right? Then there is no dearth of projects.
Absolutely.
There are thousands of projects or millions of projects.
I think that's a very important thing for all of us to hear, that there is no dearth of projects. And I love the example that you gave. Any more quick examples from our panel? You know, what can be a project that can be shaped? I'm looking for an actual case study or an example of a project that you can throw at the audience right now.
Yeah. So, as I said, many people say that, okay, AI is, could be a dangerous and all that stuff. So as we see in the movies, it's not some robot gonna come in the city and destroy the buildings and call it destructive. But in a simple words, if I want to say that, because AI is generating a lot of content, there are other side of that also, that, misuse of that content on many platforms and all that. So there are many projects that students can take up is about even detecting given a generated content is an AI generated content or a real content. It's a big problem right now. I remember 4 years back, there were fake small videos. And there were some videos which are real, some videos were fake. And it was open challenge for all community to come up with an algorithm to detect that given video is a fake video. And it was a worldwide competition. And the winner of that competition, their accuracy level were in the range of 63 to 65. Now that was 4 years back. Now technology has improved so much, and you can see that a great quality fake content will be generated. And I hope everybody understand what will happen if now these big companies are spending a lot of time actually putting and seeing and filtering the content. There are some algorithms, but accuracy levels are not so good. So for the students, go on internet. There are many open challenges and open competition with the data sets are there. So hundreds of opportunity to do some state-of-art work and contribute towards it. So AI is giving you a lot of problems to solve also, as it is helping you in other sides.
Right, right. Abid, I'm going to ask you to come up with a project for a non-tech student. They're all saying algorithms and all. But can you think of a project for a business student or a non-tech student?
Oh, of course, I can. But before that, just 2 points on your last question. The number one skill I think that you should teach the students is to delete one of their skills, which is Control-C and Control-V. Okay? I think if they can create that skill, they will be really good leaders in the future. And as and how time goes, they're not even aware that when they do Control-C and Control-V from a GPT and something, the GPT signature comes over there, which now they are smartly incorporated. So there is a tool to detect an AI written text also. That's number one. And second, of course, what Sachin said was creativity. So coming to the point, here's the problem statement. The universities can create a single dashboard where companies, because I deal with a lot of corporates and companies, manufacturing companies, and so also the education institutes, the MBA schools and colleges, where we are setting up the Center of Excellences. A is having a single platform to create problem statements for industry. Let's say we have TCS here, okay? TCS, what are your problem statements? Just throw it to us. We have the best students who can solve that. So TCS says, okay, these are 100 problem statements. Now you say, okay, the student says, hey, you know what, I'm a mechanical guy. I don't know anything about oil flow, electrical and electronics, complex things. Okay, these are things which can be adopted, but right now, what Aditya asked me, a simple problem statement, what you can solve for a non-technical guy, is just mark out the entire activities that you do in your annual year of education and tell me repetitive tasks from that, organized tasks from that, creative tasks from that. And now, how much of the work can you automate and have an objective of 30% reduction? Simple.
Wow. Wow, very interesting.
And believe you me, for this also they will use GPT. But the best part is GPT cannot solve this. Right. They can tell you the structured thing. So if they can say, okay, you know what, here's a problem statement of project, 30% reduction in whatever you do in the academic year of your time. That's what I feel would be.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ताली भी नहीं बजाते लोग.
ताली बजाना भूल गए.
As a speaker, I'm used to that, So.
Come on, थोड़ा सा loudly, guys. We are challenging the panel. Yes, Dr. Pansari.
I'm compelled to tell you a joke on this, Amit. But let me first come to your point, is that what kind of projects, and I see a problem and opportunity. Students should do their project because it is an academic curriculum requirement, and sometimes they do that so that probably they can get a target job. AI is displacing jobs, career opportunities are changing and altering. So rather than they doing their projects only for an academic compliance or just producing that what has been their probably theoretical learning, they should actually look at their projects as multidisciplinary projects, which can also create an opportunity for them to think and operate or do the projects like a student startup. For instance, we all listen to music nowadays on Spotify. Think about music and machine learning. How the music can create an impact of energy, synergy, depression analysis, and then, looking at your probably the facial expressions, what type of music inspires whom. Now that can be healthcare plus machine learning plus, your pathological kind of subjects coming together. Somebody mentioned about, some of the open data sets available. Thanks to Government of India for funding smart city projects, and Pune also has been featured as one of the smart city, and the IUDX, the India's Urban Data Exchange platform that actually provides these data sets free. These are extremely well curated data sets for purpose, right? We have been guiding some of the students to use these data sets on, say, for example, air quality index. Now, when you are analyzing the air quality index for Pune, what are the polluting factors which determine the air quality?
Interesting.
And polluting factor is, say, air pollution, climate change, industrial pollution, vehicle pollution. What pin code, what time, how much vehicle footfall count, and
Very
peak hours and non-peak hours.
Right.
Now, when you're doing that, you're coming out with that Pune's air quality index is this, and the highest polluting, road during peak hours is, say, for example, Karve Road, right? Now, can an insurance MBA guy think of that if this is the highest polluting street in Pune, and if an infant is born today, when he's likely to get bronchitis and what should be his insurance premium?
Wow, so interesting.
Now you understand, this is basically, you ideating.
Yeah, and you're saying
one
these are
problem
publicly
statement.
available data sets. I think, some more of the panel said. So you're saying that there is this publicly available data sets and enough problems in the room
Absolutely.
to solve.
So why I'm saying that creativity is important is that, it is not what is shown, but what is seen is important. It is not what is taught is important, but what is learned and what you want to do with that learning, right?
Wonderful.
And just, touching on what Amit was saying, copy paste and, the chat GPT. So this is a real joke that happened, and I was talking to one of my friend who is a school teacher, and she was talking to a girl in 6th standard. And they obviously, not only you, but the primary, secondary school teachers are also facing this problem of students using chat GPT extensively for their homework and some project submissions. And this teacher was telling that girl that you're not supposed to use chat GPT. Say, that's not fair. You want us to, produce the information what is asked for, and what are our sources? We should have liberty, and it's a democratic country, and blah, blah, blah. By the way, it is a 6-year-old kid, right, girl. So the teacher was still emphasizing, but it's being copied, not fair.
Yeah.
The argument, the counter argument by the girl was that, do you know when a lady is walking on a ramp in a beauty contest with the makeup, that makeup is also cheating.
My God,
Right?
what a brilliant answer.
So why are you saying that if I'm using a chat GPT, that's cheating?
Yeah. And I think a very typical thing, right? And something that we all need to understand from the younger generation. That's not fair. And we have to question what's fair and what's not. Thanks for taking the challenge. And as we're running out of time, you know, one of the thoughts that are in everybody's mind when it comes to AI and you know, artificial intelligence is that we are getting into the world, and obviously industry loves this, to be able to do more and more with less and less. So more output, more results, and less people, right? So higher efficiency. So, and I think the best example is Elon Musk firing 80% of the staff of Twitter. I think the whole industry is now waiting to see what they can do. And in the morning, you know, one of the people spoke about jobless growth, right? And I think it is a reality. So doing more and more with less and less, what's really going to happen? Where are the jobs going to come from? And those human skills of creativity, innovation, you know, how is that going to come? If I can request a quick perspective, maybe less than like a minute or so. I know I'm crunching it, but a quick, you know, summary perspective on this.
I don't think so. There would be a crunch for jobs. Only the types of jobs will change. What you are doing today, you may have to adapt with the situation and you need to do something new. So if you are doing something very repetitive, obviously you have to adapt and change. As I said, AI is going to create more issues, more problems, and hence more jobs. So initially there were no requirements of the teams who are going to spend time in order to block a content, as I said, or to write an algorithms to do that. So though AI is growing, it is also creating an opportunities for engineers, new opportunities, new open problems, and this is like a cat and mouse game. I was talking to a 12th standard student. He said, ChatGPT is writing a code. I don't want to do software engineering because after 4 years, there would be tools who will be writing the codes. But then this is not going to happen. There will be soon new challenges where tools will not serve the purpose, where you want to write an optimized code or specialized codes and all that. So that's what my take is. Again, repetitive things will not be there. You got to be creative, and new problems will keep coming. So nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
We have just started.
Yes.
There are rockets on a Mars, and no worry about population problem on Mars.
Yeah. And Bhushan, if you have to say in one word, one skill that you would definitely want the students to have, what would that be? Just one word.
Skill.
Yeah, one ability or skill.
Keep learning, like continuous learning is what I would say.
Okay.
I think that one word will be again creativity.
Creativity. And your thoughts on this whole drive of doing more with less, and how is that going to impact the future of work?
See, while you are asking question about future, I'll go in past. Somewhere a decade back, there was buzz about IoT and digital and all that, right? If we look at companies like TCS, that time probably we were 200,000, 300,000. There was same question asked, what happens to this workforce? As long as the organization or the individual has inquisitiveness or is ready to adapt the change that are coming, there is no limit to the opportunities available.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you're not worried. And
So
your one word is creativity.
We actually have started upskilling of all 600,000 plus
Wow.
employees of TCS.
Amazing.
They all have got basics of Gen AI.
Amazing.
So we have no choice. If we don't adapt, we are no more relevant.
Right. Very inspiring. Thank you.
So to stay relevant, we have to adapt what's coming in.
Yes.
And I completely agree with Bhushan. There are more opportunities on security or cyber security with ChatGPT, and there will be more opportunities on how do we use all these available tools for ethical purpose.
Yes.
That's another area which will
Lovely.
take us to the sky.
Lovely. Amit and Dr. Pansare, can I request a quick 1-minute summary from you?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, in 2010, the Fortune 500 companies list, which was there, 36% of those companies were not there in Fortune 500 list of 2020. And here's a disclaimer. In 2030, the list that is going to be produced, 72% of the companies are yet to be formed. So what is going to happen is those who adopt to innovations quickly, there's a huge ample of job opportunities. I'll tell you, in a simple city, in Pune, you stand in MIDC in Bhosri, there are 5,000 companies. 5,000 companies in one MIDC, Bhosri in Pune city, okay? Now, almost 86% of the companies, SMEs I'm telling you, in the next 5 years are going to need people to automate their work. The problem is they are still in a process of identifying what to automate. The moment they do that, they are going to open the job market for you. Hey, you know what? We need 50 engineers because we need to do this and this tasks. You know, and most important, the job designations, I repeat, which are going to be there in the next 3 years are yet not formed. For example, the Ciscos and the Googles of the world have something called the AI chief officer now. Right. They were never there till last 3 months back. Like IoT head of tech, you know, all those things. So huge opportunities. Only thing is, we are living in a generation which needs a 4-day work week.
Right.
And we are living in a generation where they need to just spend not less than 7 seconds to make a transaction of money which they have not earned. Okay? And if it takes 8 seconds, they get frustrated. Oh my God. They don't understand the frustrations of what their parents are going to do to earn that money. Okay? Now, to make this generation adopt to human psychology of patience and opportunities is the biggest task. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So resilience. Right. Final thought from you, Dr. Pansare?
Yeah, so my 2 cents on this is one of the reasons why government is also emphasizing a lot on this is that AI is not going to, AI will automate some jobs, AI will disrupt and decentralize lots of jobs. It will of course automate and make some jobs redundant and eliminate some jobs, but it will create huge amount of new jobs. Let me give you a couple of examples so that people understand it in the context. Let's take example of a food tech. Food tech is OTT platforms. You have Swiggy's and Zomato's where you order online and then the food is delivered, right? So that has actually automated, and OTT platforms have actually made your life easier. It has created a humongous amount of jobs of delivery boys. Now, they may not be the jobs that probably your kids or my kids may aspire for, but it is creating, jobs somewhere. The second example I can give you is look at the payment industry with the, again, using OTT platforms. You scan the QR code and you make an online payment. Nowadays, you don't go to the bank and, withdraw money for making the payments. So some jobs in the banks are changing, and as he rightly said, the new titles are coming in. So rather than a treasury, monitoring person is being replaced by the prompt engineer for online fraud detection using machine learning. But when your number of payments are actually increasing, now the lending departments of the bank, now they never had these, the street hawkers who are actually getting into the banking system because of the collections. Right. And the RBI has given them the mandate, rather than you giving the 100 crore loans, you have to disburse the micro loans to these hawkers which are under, in the range between 5 to 10 lakhs.
Right.
Now these people are in the system. Now understand, in the bank, traditional lending is gone, but the new set of merchants are coming into the system, and then how you, actually build your business models around that.
And that throws up a whole new set of challenges.
And the last point is that, see what technology had done in past is that extreme urbanization and power concentration on tier 1 cities.
Right.
Thanks to COVID and the lockdown, that has decentralized. What AI is going to do is that it is going to furthermore decentralize that power concentration to only the urban and only the elites. But look at the Uber example.
True.
Uber model is banned in most of the developed countries, but in India, a cab driver has become a taxi cab owner, right? And probably he has 2 and 3 taxis that are actually in the Uberization kind of a model, and that's where the decentralization is happening.
Very interesting.
AI and automation is likely to create more number of jobs. That's the reason why a populated country like us, the government is placing thrust on AI.
Very interesting, and that throws up whole new set of challenges and opportunities. And what's coming to my mind is, as we conclude this session, if we had a group of students who was recording this session live, putting it through a software that transcribes it, and putting that transcription into ChatGPT, and asking ChatGPT to create some keywords, and then using DALI to create a word cloud I think the words that we would get is creativity, projects, experiential learning, resilience, human skills. These are some of the words. My AI has done this quick summarization.
Aditya, the AI is in work for this recording chapter. And it's already creating a summary.
All right, so with that, thank you very much, gentlemen,
thank you
for
so
your
much.
presence. And let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you very much for this interesting discussion. Artificial intelligence might be intelligent, but we do need to remember that human intelligence is, of course, more intelligent than AI. With this note, I would request Dr. Manimalapuri to please felicitate the panelists. We now move on to the fireside chat on industry insights, navigating tomorrow's challenges. May I invite on stage Mr. Ankit Agarwal, founder and CEO, Unstop, in conversation with Mr. Bharat Agarwal, Chairman, MCCIA Higher Education and Skill Development Committee, and President, Vishwakarma University.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I know it has been an engaging day so far with quite a few panel discussions and 2 more to go. Just as a break in the system, I think a lot of Murada Chamber members, especially the industries which belong to the MSME segment, have this query, have this urge that we want to work with the institutes. Have also understood that it is a requirement that they recruit from institutes, freshers. There may also be a requirement that we need to work with institutes on projects, on problem statements, on R&D. And many a times we don't know what to do next. So although there is a requirement, there is an urge, there is a dream, there is a light in, the way ahead, the method is not understood. Ankit, I have come to know about him and his company only very recently. Yet to experience it personally, but I know many students from our system, even without me, have created a platform where you have been trying to unite. We'll try to keep our conversation around the trends of the ecosystem. After that, we'll move to a more serious conversation.
Platform for students. We have close to 9 million students on our platform, out of which 3 million students come onto our platform on a monthly basis from 20,000 plus colleges to engage with all the leading employers who actually want to engage these students and hire them. And where Unstop is basically moving forward is that can we democratize engagement and hiring of these employers to enable them to reach any student from any college across any discipline. I'll rest there and then no sales pitch as such. Just wanted to give you a brief in terms of the gamut that we work with.
From a platform point of view, you have a view, you have the window view, the door view of this engagement happening between recruiters and students. A very open question, and you might take your time to answer it as much as you want because this is important. What are the different models through which corporates are trying to recruit students, trying to reach out to students, engage with students, which might or might not result into finally recruitment, but what are things happening around the system today?
So I'll tell you, from the company's perspective, the major problems that majority of the companies are facing is that they are not able to reach out or connect with, so to say, the right talent rather than the top talent. So historically, all companies have been sort of going to, and I'm just talking about the top tier companies just for this point, they have been going to the premier schools, whether IIMs, IITs. Now they have realized that many of them may not be able to match aspirations in terms of growth, whether monetarily or professionally, of those premium students. And that's why there is a high attrition that happens at various levels, specifically at fresher level. So the idea is that can employers connect the right dots with the right talent? Okay. And that's where I think Unstop is pitching in. How they have been able to move forward, and they have been able to in the last 18 months, how the industry has shifted. Even the biggies or the top recruiters are now opening their doors to engage with any student from any college across any discipline till the time they have the right skill for that job. And that's the baseline at this point in time. Now, how is that happening? One is that many companies today as well, they only do any engagement. Let me not call it an engagement. They throw up a JD as and when they get a requirement. Now, at that point in time, when you reach out to students or your talent, they may or may not be aware about you. Even if they are aware about you, they may not be aware about your job description. That's where I think the engagements are coming into the picture, where companies have realized that why are we only looking at towards the end of the cycle? Why can't we get involved during the academic curriculum itself, either through college partnerships or doing those hackathons, case studies, or those engagements, even maybe in the second or the third year of your UG programs, or maybe the first year of your MBA programs or so. This works both ways. From the student's point of view, they get to know the industry, company, and job profile, and in that process, once you engage with multiple companies, you are able to align your interest and hobbies with those industry, company, job profile. If you're not able to get to the right fit, you're at least moving in the direction that this is something I definitely don't want to do, right? And for the companies, they are able to identify the right talent who is really interested in working for them rather than anybody, right? At the back end, you were saying that the problem is not getting jobs. The problem is that students thinking it too much, and in their thought process, they basically lose out on those offers. I think if we can get that done much earlier, during that whole academic process, we'll be able to connect those two dots very, very nicely.
Generally, what are the preferred models of engagement when the student is there in the second year or third year? Finally, placement jobs
the preferred models of engagements, what we have seen is that the student will engage. It's an inversely proportional, right? So the least amount of time that a company would want students to spend, more students will get engaged. Simple. I mean, that we have seen everywhere, right? So quizzing, maybe hackathons, maybe case study competitions, all these are becoming preferred model of engagements from the company's point of view. And in these engagements, what's happening is companies are also able to brand themselves. I mean, in their terms, employer branding. So just to give an example, Flipkart was looking at connecting with every engineer in India, right? And when they were looking at connecting with every engineer in India, their aim was not hiring. Their purpose essentially was that how do I give them a feel of how it is to be working for Flipkart if they are engaged in this whole process. So in that process, what they did was that they basically released certain problems that their engineering team is working on robotics, health, e-commerce, and other domains as well. One, everybody who participated, and mind you, there were about 4.7 lakh registrations pan India, which is 2x of cat takers. That's the level of engagement that we are seeing, right? And that too in a matter of 4 weeks. Once those guys went through the preliminary assessment, they were rolled out these problem statements. They selected all those problem statements, and then they looked at solving multiple of them. And then they could realize that, hey, this is what a person or an early talent will do if they were to get a job in Flipkart. Now imagine, Flipkart may recruit only 100, but thousands and lakh people got exposed to what problems Flipkart is solving. And that creates buzz on campus. And that becomes that employer of choice versus employer of situation. And let me explain this concept. Employer of choice is students will always have multiple offers, at least average and above average. Whether they choose you versus the other, you become employer of choice. Employer of situation is, if you don't, I mean, when you go on to the campuses, and I'm just saying that this is not only relevant for any campus, but even the premier campuses, where when I was speaking to IIM Ahmedabad and ISB, on single day, there are 50 or 60 companies, right? A student don't get to choose which company, because if the interview happened for company A and if they release the offer, the student is pushed off from the other companies, right? That also is the employer of situation where you may not be the best choice of the company because he was thinking of something else. Only because of the time you have been connected with that student, right? So then this student should have an option to engage with you outside of that placement and maybe work for you later on. I think those are the models that are coming across majorly to connect the right dots and may or may not be alongside college placements.
Well, these are different trends than what we are used to. I'm sure faculty members from academic institutes, universities. For me also, this is quite interesting to hear. We of course live in a socialist society where we want to have a system through which every student on a campus gets a job. And therefore, many a times either students don't get an opportunity of choice or a job of choice. The problem happens when students have a forecast all by themselves, not data-based, that something better is coming in the next 2 months and they lose a current opportunity. There are two reasons a student loses a job. One is what I just now mentioned, that मुझे मालूम है कि मेरे हाथ में आज ये है, but मुझे ऐसे feel हो रहा है because of my peers, because of my seniors, because of what I read in the Economic Times, 2 महीने बाद, 3 महीने बाद, there would be an interesting opportunity come in. And second, I am on campus, I am not getting placed. So there's a skill gap between what the industry wants. What are your observations about the skill gaps that generally are seen between students and the recruiters? What are the general skill gaps which you see?
I think, let me categorize them into genuine gaps and gaps that are only in your mind. And I'll sort of brief you. Whenever any company, and we work with all top recruiters, Amazon, Flipkart, Reliance, Tata, so we know the situation on ground. Any company who's looking at niche profiles, let's say AI/ML or maybe Java or something, they are not looking at those skills at a perfection level in those students, because these companies can train them. What exactly are they looking at is the basic skills. Is that person more agile enough or not? Can that person speak smaller aspects that colleges can work on? Though if 80% of the problem is because of these skills, the aptitude and basics, right? Rather than the major skills in terms of the niche, right? Some people would only go for the niche, but many of them have identified that is only relevant for the basics of it, and which I think every is on these skill sets. So I think many a times the gap that we basically say, sometimes the gap is in our minds, and there are these basic skills, those gaps are much more than the actual gaps as such. And just to also point it out, whenever we are looking at engaging on these specific skill sets, if you basically a sneak peek into those job descriptions and their industry and the company, so that the student can look at them, can learn from them, and then maybe come prepared for the interviews. So I think there is a gap, but that gap I believe is solvable through new age techniques, and colleges can do that themselves.
I just recollect, and just to add on to what you just now mentioned, Ankit, that basics are so important. We had Mccia ji in the morning from Tata.com. I remember meeting the CEO of Tata.com a few months back, and I asked him, Tata.com, we all know from Sudipta's talk, is now emerging the EV company, then Autocom company. They manufacture EV components for all EV manufacturers. I asked him, he's a 60-year-old guy. I asked him, sir, what do you want us to teach in our universities? And he said, teach the fundamentals. Teach the basics. Before 2 years, I am now a veteran of the auto industry. I knew nothing about EV. And now I am the CEO of a EV company. I learn the way. I learn on the journey. I learn in the way. But your fundamentals needs to be strong. And that is what I think.
Also,
so
just to, because you spoke about EV, right? So we were speaking to Ather Energy, okay? They only wanted to inculcate interest of students in EV rather than asking students to know about EV. And that's where the engagement bit lies in, that can industry leader take onus of creating interest or curiosity in that particular segment from the student's point of view, and eventually they'll be able to identify people who may have the skills, the basic skills, and who have the interest in that industry, whom they can train and get that done. I think there are different thoughts that are coming into the picture.
I reflect on this again, Ankit. You said very well. I run a foundry industry, I run a clustering business, and as association of all clustering industries, we all cry that the talent doesn't come to us. Maybe the reason is that we don't talk about us. We only talk about us when we go on recruitment. We don't build up how, whatever smart the jobs at our companies or our shop floor would be. Going ahead, again, because of the opportunity that you have about seeing trends and seeing the window of recruitment, hackathons, projects, engagements, and recruitments and jobs, I asked a lot of questions to my students who come to me with a win. A student group has won a motor racing competition where they built a car and they have won the competition. 10 बच्चे आए और मैंने उन्हें पूछा, बधाई दी और फिर पूछा that आप 10 में से कितनों बच्चों को जॉब मिला है? And there is no relation. Means I assume that because you are building the motor car and you are racing it and you are winning it, your chances of winning the car or winning or getting a job is better. With that context, hackathons are happening. Project case study competitions are happening. Is there a relationship that if a student group, if a student is doing well, his opportunities are better? Or what is your thought on that?
No, I think the data suggests, and we did a survey across 11,000 students very recently, which was released last month itself. The chances of a student being placed increases 80 times if you're participating in these engagements. The chances of you getting 2x higher package increases 66%, right? You also need to think through that whoever is also, and that's possibly the flip side, whoever was participating in these engagements and showed their skills and was excelling in that domain, they also become choosy that, hey, we only want to, because we are, hum top hain, hum khali in type of companies mein jayenge. And I think which is okay, because that's bringing in focus because they have the right skills. But we have seen that whoever is engaging and whoever is doing beyond their academic curriculum, anything which is practical, they are getting better jobs with better packages, and industry is also looking at that. I'll give you an example. So again, let me go back to the premier colleges because this is what we have documented as well. So IIM Ahmedabad and ISB, I'll just take these two colleges. They don't have dearth of jobs. Every company visits them. This year may not be that, but every company visits them. But all of them are on Unstop. 99% penetration we have in all these colleges, right? They are not coming on Unstop to get a job, right? That might be the end goal. They are coming on Unstop to basically engage in different industries, different companies, different job profile. And this is, and I'll quote, the students say that, hey, we are coming on Unstop to eliminate what we do not want to do in life. We may not be able to get to a point what we want to do, this is the right approach or so. But at least we are able to figure out that finance is not my domain. In marketing, digital marketing is something that I do not want to do, but maybe brand marketing is something that I might be interested in. I think students are also moving into those directions as well because of these engagements.
And with the last one, we are in Pune. It is a manufacturing capital of India. I think we are also better than Chennai, but maybe not. But we are the best. We started with Bajaj Auto, Mahindra, and now Bajaj Tata, and now we have Mahindra. You name a OEM, they have their place in Pune. We have a large auto component industry which supports this auto industry. The Indo-German Chamber of Commerce mentions that the largest presence of German manufacturing in any city in India is in Pune. How do this rich, large SME, MSME industry, primarily in the manufacturing division, recruit? How do they use a platform like, because hackathons बोलने के बाद क्या होता है, पहले तो लगता है IT company का domain है. So how does the manufacturing industry benefit from this?
No, I think I'll just talk about two campaigns that just happened. One is L&T and the other is Indian Oil. Okay. Now those campaigns were primarily into the core areas of chemical, mechanical and all. I mean, anybody who doesn't want to code is what they were basically targeting, because the core guys are also going into the coding. That was the brief, right? And we said that I think one aspect is that, and let's be very, very frank, right? And that is true for any industry which is not seen as aspirational. Okay, manufacturing is one of them, pharma is another, BFSI is another, right? They are not seen as aspirational in nature, right? I believe, one, we need to make them a bit more aspirational than what it is right now, right? And to your point, and I basically tell bluntly to all the college, to employers. I mean, today morning I was discussing Reliance, and by the way, this manufacturing problem, it's not only SMEs, every top recruiter I've spoken to, Tata's, AB. The point, I think one thing was that through those engagements, can the industry leader take the onus of making that industry aspirational? That's one. That's one area. It won't happen. Take up this ownership. The second aspect, I think, in manufacturing, the near vicinity, right? Because people may not come from other states to basically be there. And the biggest problem that happens is that you're not able to reach out to people within your vicinity, right? And that's what I think, it's not there yet, but there should be a pin code based hiring. So imagine we have 9 million students onto our platform and we don't have that yet, right? But the solution might be that if any bigger organization is looking at hiring 1,000 employees in 10 cities, correct? Can we basically give them a sense that, hey, in every city where you have the office, these are maybe the 1,000 guys within 100 kilometers of your office or factory or maybe location, right? And I think that's where we need to basically sync up and figure out that is that the right approach? Because I think the Pune guys, and let's not talk about Pune, I was speaking to a couple of governments, right? They say that majority of the guys do not want to leave state at this point in time, right? They're giving them BTech degrees or so, but still they do not want to leave the state, and that's in the best interest of government as well. Because if they are doing investment summits, right, they're calling companies to set up shops in their state, in their city. My only essence is, can't you upskill your own talent so that you also leverage when other companies are setting shop? And I think that can only happen once we know that there is talented individuals within the vicinity of that office or the factory. I think we are still way beyond what we need, but I think in next year or so, hopefully we'll solve that problem.
Last thing, and I'll allow you to sell Unstop over here. Do we have a mechanism or a case study of manufacturing companies recruiting through Unstop, and if possible, if you name it, and because I want that message to go to the industry sector over here, that what are things possible today?
No. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I mean, we are at that space where it's not only the manufacturing, it is pharma, BFSI, everybody. For manufacturing, as I spoke about the names, right? The L&Ts of the world, Reliance, Tata's, Mahindra, Tata Steel, all of them are looking at those areas, and they basically are able to reach out to students and sort of hire. Pharma, we work with Cipla, GSK, J&J, BFSI, Kotak, Yes Bank, ICICI Bank, all these. So the essence is that, see, as a platform, we are looking at democratizing all these engagements irrespective of the industry or the domain, from the employer side as well as the discipline from the student side. And we are the only platform which can actually do that, because we are agnostic of any of these things. And if you look at the clientele, you will have all recruiters across disciplines.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ankit, for your time. I know you have
My
flown
pleasure.
over to only spend this 20-25 minutes with us, but there are academia over here. I'm sure there are industries over here who would want to meet you and talk to you. Our best wishes to you on this journey. I know it's a venture that you started 7 years back, as you were telling me. We only work with one motive, that whatever benefit comes to our student, we want to work with that. We want to move on the direction. So if it's Unstop or if it's someone else who would want to assist us in our journey towards student benefit, you are most welcome. Thank you for your time, and my
Thank you
best
so
wishes
much.
to you always.
Thank you so much.
May I invite Dr. Manimala Puri once more to felicitate the panelists? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. We now move on to the next panel discussion. The topic for this panel is Unlocking Talent, Exploring Micro-Credential Certification for Recruiters. May I invite on stage the panelists, Mr. Swapnil Ajmera, Enterprise Accounts Director, India, Coursera, Mr. Anup Menon from LinkedIn Learning, Mr. Anuj Jaju from Infosys Springboard, and the panel chair, Mr. Emmanuel Gosola. Sir.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure this afternoon we are going to have an interesting conversation, and the audience, all of you, will enjoy something different what we have in store for you. When I was looking at the screen, there was something written as "magic happened." I was wondering, wow, this is something unique, catchy word. And if I looked at from morning, the topics, what has been identified, all have a different flavor of gaining some insights. The same one which we have come up with for this afternoon is about micro-credentials and certifications. This is again unique and different from what we have been hearing from this morning. So I was wondering, what is this all about, right? I represent an organization called EPAM Systems, and then we see the amount of demand and supply, and the skilled workforce need has been always evolving. And what I see with the higher education institutions, the skill-based and the certifications which are required by the corporates have been tremendously changing. Micro credentials and certifications, right? This is the next chapter in the higher education. And we were discussing about it, like, we said, okay, let's talk about it along with our participants. And always when we attend this kind of conferences, right, everyone keeps talking about there is a gap between the academia and industry expectations. When we were discussing about it, about the needs of these micro-credentials and learnings, we see that this is the best solution for bridging the gap. Everyone keeps talking about it, but the solution is here already, and we're going to talk about it. This is the just-in-time solution in getting the modern skills, right? This is my introduction about the topic. So before we get into the details, I have a couple of questions to the audience, which I want you to think about it and talk in between. We are going to ask you, a few of the questions. We also have our panelists who are coming from like industry leaders like Coursera and LinkedIn Learning and Infosys. And I'm sure you will have good takeaways. So the questions what I have for the audience who are available here, what kind of certifications you are looking for? Let me repeat. What kind of certifications from the students you are looking for? Probably you can talk about it when your turn comes. And the second one is how many of you are the recruiters here? Can you please raise the hand? How many of you are the recruiters? Anyone from the recruitment department here? Let me know if any recruiters. I have some points which we would like to discuss with you. So having said this, we would continue with our discussion. Let me get into our panel discussion with my questions, what I have. All right, so as I mentioned, right, this is the next chapter in the higher education. So I would like to have your opening remarks, maybe a quick opening remarks, why you think this has been coming as a next big chapter in the higher education field. Maybe each one of you can share quick insights as an opening remarks. So who would like to go? Yeah, Anup.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So my 2 cents on this is, I'll start with a quick data which was published by the World Economic Forum, which said that in the next 5 years, there are going to be 83 million jobs, which are going to get declined. And as against that, there will be 63 million jobs which will be coming up, which means that we are already seeing a decline in jobs. There are several reasons to it. Okay, it could be emerging technology, new age, generational gap, a lot of new things coming up, and micro-credentialing is something which I believe is something which can fill the gap, because those are fundamentals versus new age skills. How is it that you can match these both? I was just listening to Bharat sir also, where he mentioned one thing about the person who became the CEO of an EV company, wherein the fundamentals are supposed to be absolutely relevant and important and required, and that's exactly where the college comes into play. But if a person has to grow and immediately become a CEO of an EV company, which is a very new age skill, this is exactly where micro-credentialing comes, and this is where you can quickly grab onto opportunities and start learning those new areas or new skills and start filling in those gaps to reach that space.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. Thank you. Swapnil or Anuj, you want to go next?
Okay, so whenever academia wants to be at par with the technology, they try to change the syllabus, and it takes its own time. But industry will change at much faster rate. So for example, especially IT industry, if you talk about, every 6 months there will be something new. But that's not the pace with which the universities can change their syllabus. Right. So obviously there will be inevitably some gap which will come in. Now, who is going to bridge this gap? So for that, the movement has already started in the form of MOOC courses and all those things we have been seeing. Especially after COVID, this has picked up, it has fueled actually, COVID has fueled it up. And now the era is more than the education base, it is more skill base. And that is when the micro-credentials come into picture and come handy.
Sure, thank you. Swapnil.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with Anuj that wherein academia has a larger focus on multiple aspects and the overall development in the particular functional area or the program that the students have enrolled for. Micro-credentials, as the name itself suggests, are there for the short duration learning outcomes. They are short bursts of probably courses or learning elements which have specific skills, specific learning outcomes which are focused towards how it would make students better fitted for the industry needs. And that's when every industry as well as academia is eyeing to fulfill this gap, but inculcating those skill sets. And at the same time, these are validated by the assessments which has been designed by the expert, which are validated by the industry and accepted by the industry as well. And hence, we are saying, earlier we used to call it professional certifications, we are calling it micro-credentials now. Right. But I think, all in all, the biggest difference between the traditional way of certifications and now we are calling it micro-credentials or professional certs is its focus, it's very targeted to certain specific skill areas And industry also, if we look at today, like back in our days, there was a larger scope towards onboarding the students, giving them full scope of training. Okay, this is how the culture is, this is how various functions are. And then they used to decide like where students would fit in most according probably to their interest or pursuit. But I think they're very specific in their demands as well, that, oh, I want certain set of students to complete these tasks, and if they can be skill ready for this when we're recruiting or onboarding them. So that's why micro-credentials have come up in this.
Great. Thank you. So what I see is that the gaps what we have been talking about will definitely be filled with these kind of certifications. So while we're talking about, right, we are referring about students. Have we ever thought about professionals like us, people sitting in this room? How many of us are thinking about having certain new age skills? And I heard a couple of the panelists talking about prompt engineering. This is required for everyone. So how many of us sitting in this room are the continuous learners? Have we done any micro certifications? Anyone in this room who has done any kind of certification maybe in the last 6 months? Okay, I see Bharatji raise a hand. Yeah, I also raise the hand. Okay, I see 2 people raising the hand. So when we talk about students and the disruption which is happening in the industry, this is the fastest way how a student can learn. So my question to Anuj from Infosys, how do you think the academia can take the best advantage? Because all these days academia has been focusing, of course there were some electives, industry-led electives, the macro learning, right? 4 years of learning. When I was talking to Mr. Bharat, 2 years of fundamentals, the second half of the 4 year of graduation has been on the specific skills. But now the changes which are happening in the corporate, we need more advanced skills. How do you think the academia can take advantage of this new chapter in the higher education, which is micro-credential certification? What are your takes on that?
Okay, so as I said, academia is a little one step behind the industry requirement. So there will always be a gap that exists. Now, when the recruiters are there and when they are looking for certain skills, probably that gap is something which these guys can fill up and get ready for the industry. Now, it may be just one certification, but generally it comes as a stack of certifications. So probably a stack of micro-credentials they can learn and then get ready for a particular role. So what I'm saying essentially is they can target certain roles instead of just a certain skill set. So it can be a role. So when you say this particular role, so these are the technical skills that you require, plus these are the soft skills that you require. So maybe you can get enabled on that and get prepared for that. So that's immediately what.
Okay. So from LinkedIn and Coursera, how are you helping the academia in micro, credential certification? Would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think it's one area wherein exactly Coursera fits in when we talk about industry meets academia. We are that meet,
right.
We are that bridge, and I think Coursera being first of many, wherein we have introduced specializations, which Anuj was referring to as stack of courses and certifications putting together. It establishes a learning pathway for a student so as to meet the right set of skills by end of it. And we're very proud to say that apart from the 7,000 courses that we have on Coursera today, there are 700 plus such specializations. And it is coming from 85 plus industry partners like Google, IBM, Cisco, Microsoft, Salesforce, you name it, and we have it. So I think that not only brings in credibility in terms of what we are learning as an outcome, but these are solid foundations as well as the learning elements, including the assessment which has been derived and validated by the industry professionals that, okay, this is now we say that, okay, students have learned, acquired a particular skills, we've assessed it, and how Coursera or probably the academia can take the maximum advantage of it is through guided projects, through assignments to make sure that we are implementing to what we are learning through these part of professional certifications. And that's wherein the entire cycle of learning happens, that you're not only acquiring the right set of skills, knowledge, but assessment and application is also coming at play.
Okay, okay. Not only offering the courses, even assessments for the students' point of view. Okay, thank you. How about you, Anup?
So Manuel, I come from a place, LinkedIn, which obviously has a lot of members registered on it. So currently, LinkedIn is around 1 billion members registered. So one advantage which we always have is we always have an insight into what was the skill in the past, what is the skill currently, and we can predict the skill of the future. Okay, so how are we doing that? Now, there are a lot of reports, a lot of activities being done. When I was recently reading a report which said that it was again a report which was co-curated and created by World Economic Forum and LinkedIn put together, which said that 25% of the skills are changing year on year. Okay, and this is going to change to almost 60% by 2030, which means that students who are learning today in colleges, there is a high chance that by the time they get out of the college, they have learned skills which most probably could have got redundant. Okay, what is LinkedIn trying to do? LinkedIn is trying to not just help them with these micro-credential courses, but we are taking 2 steps behind, and we are also telling them this exact data which I just told you about, which is the predictability of the skills. Now, if you look at, as per a survey done recently, it was said that what is the main reason why a student joins college? It is jobs, correct? But if you ask people sitting in this room, or even you go and ask any employee of any organization, the question that when you entered this job, when you started this job, did your college keep you 100% ready? The answer is no. Which means that there was a huge gap, and now, probably post-pandemic, we are in a stage wherein micro-credentialing is the new buzzword right now, and what we can do is we are efficiently trying to map those skills to courses. Now, you also mentioned in your opening address that a lot of people today are looking skill-first hiring kind of a thing.
Right.
Now, skill-first hiring is one of the most important thing wherein I will never say that college degrees are not important. Those are fundamentals. But what they need is a problem solver, a person who doesn't not just have a degree, but something he's able to solve. So
strong in fundamentals.
Absolutely right. So this is exactly where LinkedIn comes into play, wherein the data, availability of data, showcasing the data, and clubbing all that data to availability of jobs, and making students socially aware of what is going on in the market, so that they, during their interviews, they are not talking about what they've learned, which is obvious that, their marks will say. They're talking about what are the new things they have gained in the last 3 years or 4 years of their education, and how am I fitting the bill exactly for your organization.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Also, Emmanuel, just one point to
So,
add here.
before you add your comments, Swapnil, as I asked you in the beginning, I would be asking a question to the audience also soon after Swapnil's comment. Please be ready. I will be asking a question to you. Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah, but no, I was just looking at Dr. Ahuja, and it reminded of our discussion wherein how we look at multiple use cases of these certifications and credentials in universities. And then I think thanks to UGC and AICTE being very accommodative of online MOOC learning, up to 40% of learning in the credit transfers can happen online now. And it gives a wider scope to all the universities and institutions, be it in terms of introducing specializations, be it in terms of introducing minor programs, major programs, or simply as a value-added courses or general electives. So the scope is huge today.
Yeah.
To blend it in the curriculum, to see the impact, and I think this is one step forward where an industry have not only stepped in, offered these certifications, which have already been we've been imparting industrial knowledge through professionals visiting the campuses, but I think this is more structured now, and for a very good time now, because it has been approved by at an institution level through AICTE and bodies like UGC. I think it will be a great move forward to see these blending into the curriculum.
Yeah, the support coming in from the government bodies and the national credit framework certification is really going to boost these kind of micro certifications. Okay, so the question what I asked in the beginning of my opening remarks are the certifications. What do you think from your point of view? What are the certifications required from the students before they join your corporate? Or if you are from academics, what do you think are the certifications which a student needs to have? Anyone can talk about it? Yes, please. So what certification you think a student is required? A quick and short inputs, please.
Okay. So I'm recruiting people, students for the last 20 years in India and abroad as well.
Okay.
I see similar scenario, you know, like we are very choosy. We get 10 people for interviewing. We just have 2 positions. So I'm going to choose the best one, right? Who fits into my areas, who is good, smart, you know, has good fundamentals. But as we said, there's a gap, and that gap will remain, as what Anush said, right? That gap will remain, because we cannot quickly change our curriculums.
Yep.
And I'm from semiconductor industry.
Semiconductor.
So, semiconductor, which has suddenly come to India now, right? And everybody is thinking what to do. So if I'm a recruiter, I would ask questions, let's say about semiconductor wafer,
Okay.
to a candidate who has not studied about that in the college.
Okay.
So if he doesn't know what the wafer is, how the die looks like, basic things, what is the material, where it come from, I would think that I have to spend 6 months with this guy to tell him the fundamentals of how wafer is made.
Sure.
So I would then think that I would look for somebody who has micro credentials on basics of semiconductor.
Basics of semiconductor is one
Example-
certification
example
you would like to
I
have.
might look for as a technical. On a non-technical side, I may think about some aptitude test he has done.
Okay.
Because we want him to reciprocate with the manager.
Sure.
As the skid showed earlier in the morning, that the manager and the student or the employee has to really gel well from day one.
Okay.
And we think sometimes it's a burden to really train the person. When I say burden, we have to take it with pinch of salt. Burden doesn't mean burden, because I have to spend 3 months at least to get that person to be productive.
Okay.
So I might think that he should be smart, has some credentials about soft skills.
So
can
soft
speak-
skills, certification in soft skills
Right.
and basics of,
and some technical thing to relate to my industry.
Okay.
So that right in second, third week, he is asking me question as a manager that, sir, do we have this? So I'll be surprised that, hey, how come you basically know this? Then I will be more motivated to teach him more. I'll tell my staff to teach him. So that way I look at micro credentials.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone would like to add? Yeah. What certifications? Yeah.
Sorry, I want to add a very different perspective to this certification. I've been speaking to thousands of students as we mentor a lot of MBA students and engineering students. Unfortunately, you know, in their CV, you will see a number of certifications. There is a huge gap between the learnability, the skills that they pick up, and what you see in certification. In fact, as a professional who has been hiring for last 25 odd years, when you interview people, when you see their CV with a lot of certifications, but they can't even answer and say what value add did this certification add, I think that's the problem. So if people like LinkedIn are sitting here, I would rather say add some good practical examples in those certifications. Bring smaller case studies. Students don't even know about good examples happening related to the subject. I'll give you an example. If you say, why is e-commerce so critical today? And if you can't use a right example today of a supply chain company doing some good job and how end-to-end, you know, e-commerce and supply chain are getting integrated to reduce the cost of supply chain, then what's the point of just teaching them through few slides?
Sure.
So my point will be that all these certification companies, you know, we do more face-to-face mentoring because that's the most effective way of doing it.
Sure.
Certifications can only be effective if you bring in videos, bring in good examples.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. So the certification is to have more of a practical oriented. Most of the certificates are, but it's again up to how the students have been actually utilizing it. Great. Thank you. So we'll go back to our conversation. I was also thinking, how about certification in procrastination? Especially for students, whatever you give, right? They don't try to, as the professor has rightly mentioned, right? Certificates needs to have some practical problem solving or the real case studies. But how many of them are actually doing it? I see many of the students have a procrastination, right? They should be given a certificate. Are you a procrastinator or someone who does it on time? Okay, that was just to add some humor. Okay, now going back to the discussion, right? This is about how a recruiter can have a viable, reliable assessment in place, because certifications could be from any of the market leader. But how a recruiter can conduct an assessment and ensure that, yes, this is the gap, what I see from the students, how I'm going to assess these student or any professional before I hire them. How a recruiter can assess. So who would like to take that question?
I can take that up.
Okay, Anuj.
So I have been doing recruitment for my organizations with which I have worked. And people do come up with a lot of certification on their resume, saying that, okay, I'm good with this. So there are two aspects. One is, when you have these credentials on your certificate, many of the resumes are actually scanned by AI software. So if they pick up those keywords, then probably some of the some of the resumes get selected. So that's the first stage. So many students, they actually purposely would introduce those keywords and saying that, okay, I have done this kind of. But it is job of the recruiter to evaluate whether they are really good with that or not. So any certification, whenever I interact with students, they typically ask about which certification I should do and other stuff. They can do any certification, but important thing is, are they doing it honestly? Because when they do it honestly, then only they will be able to answer it in the interview, because interviewer can ask the questions around that, and they are used to it, that there might be certain fake certification, there might be something which is just done by just
for the sake of doing it?
For the sake of doing it, or just mugging up. But it is the job of interviewer to see it from multiple perspectives and then try to gauge whether this guy has really got insight from those courses which he has undergone or she has undergone.
Yeah, so Anuj, sorry to interrupt you. You say that interview is the only way to assess, or anything else what you see? Because interview is not scalable model. If I go to a campus, right, I see hundreds of students. How can I, as a recruiter, assess? Any thoughts on this? How to have a fair, reliable, standardized assessment for student to ensure that, yes, this certificate is valid for my requirement and this student possesses this kind of a skill?
Okay, first thing is, as sir was also mentioning, that there are two types of skill sets which recruiters would look for. One is the core skill set and one is the functional one. So first of all, when I'm going to a campus and looking for particular skill set, I will have those set of skill set in my mind. That, okay, these are the functional skill sets which I'm looking for, and these are the core skill sets which I'm looking for. So that is the first filtering criteria. But whether this certification was really done in an authentic way or not, probably that, maybe I don't think I will be able to judge that without actually putting them through some activity.
Okay.
So probably putting them through some kind of hackathon, some kind of group discussion, some kind of interview.
Okay.
That's the way out, I think.
Sure. I think Swapnil has something to share. Swapnil, you would like to add your thoughts?
Very well point made by Anuj, and then what Sir's remark was also in terms of how do we ensure that just by looking at the certification name on the resume, whether students have actually gathered the skill and then can reproduce it at work or not. I think a very important layer in between, and I've been hearing Bharat sir saying a lot about focus on the assessment part. And that's what I'm very much in sync with, in terms of, along with these certifications, assessment as a layer should always be added, so that right before even the student reaches out to the recruiter at this point in time, they also have a confidence that, oh, I have not just gathered these skills, but I have kind of put into a test. Here is a proof that, okay, I have learned this. And over and above, Coursera as a platform has 3,400 projects. And we also guide faculties to develop more such guided projects, which also ensure students get another layer, which is hands-on application.
Sure.
So the refinement has to happen at a layer prior, rather than recruiter. It's practically impossible just to look at from a piece of paper and then designing it. Of course, tools like AI is now available there, which can do it at a scalable place, wherein we can do the assessment at scale as well. There have been instances wherein there's a lot of question bank prepared. AI is there to assess the student, but that comes at a later stage. But I think something which is there in hands of the academicians is the layer of proctored assessment, guided projects, and then filtering it out and giving information to the recruiter.
So there are certain tools which are available. With my experience, right, from the organization where I represent EPAM systems, for example, with VIT, Vishwakarma Institution, right, we offer some education courses, especially like around cloud and DevOps. These are the skills which we need, because it's tough getting cloud and DevOps skills from the market because everything is new, right? So organizations running their own assessments will definitely have an advantage because they are assessing, they know what standards are required. This is the new trend where organizations are also running those assessments to pick the right student, because once you onboard a student, you are very clear along with the student that yes, this is the skill where I'm going to start my career at this organization, because I have gone through a course, I have learned something, and this is my choice to get into. So this is what I see, a new trend, that organizations can run their own assessments on a specific skill which the courses has been offered by the organization, right? So this is one way of looking at it. Now, the question to Anup is, we have been talking about how AI is disrupting. Do you think the micro credentials and credential certifications will really have a future? What do you think is the future of micro credentials when there are LLMs which are teaching, right? Will you think, do you think there is a future for micro credentials and certifications? When I say LLMs, right, you have many of these LLMs. It could be ChatGPT or any other large language models can also teach any individual. So what do you think, as for you, the future of this particular micro credentials?
So I'll answer it a little differently also. So I'm going to touch a very sensitive topic here, which is availability of professors in India. Okay, so now that is something which any place where I visit, okay, a lot of people in Mumbai, Pune, in the prime cities are very privileged that they have the right people, they have the right skill set amongst the professors to deliver content, wherein they say that maybe in my college, micro-credential can take a backseat because we are getting those, professor or professor of practice, as we call them right now, who are ready to come in. If I throw some light on tier 2, tier 3 cities, okay, if I start from there, I say that micro-credentialing is the next wave for them, okay, because I'll say that education, micro-credentialing, certification needs to be equitable in nature, which means that everyone should get
certified by EPAM. Why not we go and pick them? And this has really helped the organization and the students, because they have decided that this is what their specialization and area of interest is going to be. And obviously, the training time will reduce for such people. Great. Okay. So,
another example I would like to give is from Axis Bank. Axis Bank usually, and then correct me if I'm wrong, from the campuses, they recruit majorly the students for marketing and sales profile to sell, not to say, but policies, insurance, and so forth. But last year, what we have observed is 8 students got recruited for data science profile because they had micro credentials from IBM, data science with Python as a language. So we are already seeing this. And this is what Professor Rajkamal Vempati, who's head HR Axis Bank, had to say, that skills are the new currency, and we are looking beyond the formal education. So I think it's being widely now accepted by the employers, and we're seeing that change as well.
Sure. So I would like to ask any questions from the audience before I have one final question to my panelist. The question for my panelist is that if you have to use one word to say about the benefit what recruiters will get through micro-credential certification, one word which you would like to say, the benefit what recruiters will get. With that question, we will close. So any questions from the audience? Anything? Okay. Then let's.
I think it might not be one word, but 2 words. Right candidate.
Right
hire.
Sorry.
Right hire.
Right hire. Okay, that's a benefit. All right.
Okay. I would say cone-shaped skill, but for that I need to tell what is cone-shaped skill.
Okay.
So,
Multi-skilled.
Cone-shaped skill. So what is this cone-shaped skill? So earlier we used to have an industry T-shaped skill.
Yeah.
That means T is there. So that means you need to have depth of one area and you need to know certain things as a awareness.
Okay.
Okay. So these micro credentials are typically the upskilling stuff. So where you can increase your depth.
Okay.
Now industry requires not just the T shape, it requires comb shape. That means you need to have at least 3 depth of areas. So this is going to help in getting that comb shape skill.
Excellent. Okay. Anup.
One word, I'll say, probably 2 things I'll say. One is efficiency.
Okay.
Okay. And second, I'll say continuous learning.
Great. Thank you. So to summarize, Swapnil said that micro-credential certification will give the right talent. And Anuj said that it gives recruiters or the organizations to have multi-skilled individuals with depth and breadth of the knowledge. And Anup says that this will bring an advantage to the recruiters in having the efficiency in the skills what they have learned. With this, thank you very much. Thank you for your insights. Thank you, the organizers, for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you. I invite on stage Dr. Ahuja, VC JSPM University, to please felicitate the panelists. Thank you. As we move on to the final session of today, I request the audience to please move ahead in the vacant seats. Those sitting in the back seats, could you please move ahead? Thank you. Thank you very much. What an interesting day it has been. And now we come to a close with the final panel discussion. The topic for this panel is Shaping the Future of Higher Education, Perspectives from Academicians and VCs. I invite on stage panelists, Professor Dr. Sunil Bhagwat, Director, ISER Pune, Dr. Saili Gankar, Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil University, Mr. Hridesh Deshpande, Vice Chancellor, Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University, and our panel chair, Professor Dr. Parag Kalkar, Pro VC SPPU.
Very good afternoon, all the respected panel members, Dr. Sunil Bhagwat, Dr. Saili Gankar Madam, Dr. Hridayesh Deshpande Sir, dignitaries of the dais. The very important topic we'll be discussing here, shaping the future of higher education, perspective from the academicians and vice chancellors. We all know that this NEP is rolled out in autonomous colleges, in departments, in private universities, at the PG level and somewhere at the UG level. Now, a remaining part of this rollout will be starting from the coming academic year. It's very important after so many years, there are certain parameters who are drastically changing. So with this change, we have a clear-cut target ahead that by 2035, the student enrollment has to be 50%. GERAL, what we call as the gross enrollment ratio. Presently, it is somewhere around 28-29%. So taking into consideration, Pune was called as the Oxford of the East, but Oxford is only one university. Today, this beautiful city is hosting 26 universities. Out of that, almost 24 are private and deemed universities. SNDT and Savitribai Phule Pune University is one of the state university. 40 universities in another year. So we have multiplying effect. And the beauty of the city is city hosting all types of higher education. And now we are looking at how we'll take it ahead as a leadership in the country. So I would like to ask a few questions to all panelists. One by one, they will respond to these questions. And in case at the end of the day, we'll summarize, or if any questions coming from the audience, we'll take that question if the time permits. We have clear-cut time limitation of 30 minutes, so we'll try to knowledge-based higher education. So how skill-based is been added to the present knowledge-based education, where we are only giving a degree, but now degree with skills or degree embedded with skills is expected.
Good afternoon. As you know, my institution, our institution is more into research and education. So that typically people think that it is only a classroom matter, but definitely it is not. A lot of laboratory work, including what is research work, requires skills. Skills are not necessarily the mundane skills that we talk about alone. Those are skills too. But skills needed for research are a unique kind of skill which requires a lot of training for. And yes, we do provide that training. But when you talk about people who are going to exit at different levels, if you look at the way syllabi are today and you say that somebody is going to leave after first year with a certificate, that doesn't actually give much to the candidate who is going to leave, or second year and is going to leave with a diploma. We have to probably think that these first 2 years need to incorporate other skills as well besides what we are training them today. It is essential that we continue to provide the knowledge, but at the same time, knowing that some people are going to exit, the importance of other skills is increasing.
Sorry, madam.
I think a very good question which we always discuss it in every faculty room and in classrooms, that how we can really work on knowledge and skill both. I still remember when I started teaching organizational behavior, the first thing was been taught to me was that knowledge, skill and attitude is very important to work in any professional organization. So if knowledge and skill is the side of one coin, I think we really need to work on it very extensively in the context of the current situation and the changes which are happening in the environment. We know it very well that the number of universities are increasing, autonomous institutions are increasing. India is being looked at as a youth populated country. So how this population will be addressed? We are talking about Vikasit Bharat 2047. We are talking about 4th largest economy of this world. We're talking about so many things, and at the same time, we're also talking about, in spite of giving everything, our students are not getting the jobs. And we keep fighting, I'm not talking about fighting in terms of actual fighting, I'm talking about it's an inner fighting with yourself and your thought process and the processes which we are implementing in the organization. This is happening because we are trying to do everything at a time. We want everyone to learn technology-enabled learning processes, technology. We want them to have the values which we are always talking about. We want them to be skill-based education. We don't know what is the difference between skill and knowledge. How can we give them the experiences in the classrooms? What pedagogy is to be utilized? How technology is to be really taken ahead? How ChatGPT is again one more challenge which is coming on the table, where everyone is saying that it's going to remove everyone's job and the jobs will be very easy and you don't need to think about anything. So I think we are into a pressure where the teacher has to really understand what it should be. So when we talk about this, I just went back to our own old days where we said that fine, my classroom will be a learning classroom where I learn and my teacher will help me to learn. And I think in the whole process we have forgotten all this, and we are talking about that how these the initiatives, new ways can really improve it. I think those are the tools to improve the productivity and efficiency of all of us. So I think when we are talking about knowledge and skill, of course our job is to educate everyone. Our job is to prepare them for the life. Our job is to prepare them to work in organization. In the holistic development, that is what we always talk about. So we really need to understand how to deal with all these challenges, right? And then we can really, and we say that it should be a student-centric education, right? But are we really doing it? This is my question, which maybe I'm asking to everyone, right? And can help us to really think about that how we can do it. We talk about it that yes, my student should get placed in the company. When my student goes to a campus placement, he gives a great answer, but he's not the only one where for one position 10,000 applications are there. So how I'm going to make him competitive enough with technological skill, with behavioral skills, with the knowledge which we are expecting? I think that's the biggest challenge with all of us. And in the whole process, where is my faculty? Where are they? Are they learning? Are they updating themselves? Or are we talking about only research, number of research papers, patents? When patents are there, the next question comes that how many patents are commercialized, right? Then we say that who has taken your patent? So where are we going to? Why we are? This is what I feel, that we have to really look. And therefore, if we are really talking about GER, just in the morning I was reading it, that the education is very high, right? Students are coming to the campuses, they are doing the learning processes, but then what about the employability, right? So I think we really need to think about all those aspects and rethink, redesign our all processes, right, from classroom to everywhere, right? Then we can say that yes, our GER will be changed. So we have to really look into this. All policies are great, no doubt about it, but do we have that appetite and capacity to deal with those challenges, and how one can develop those, right? I think these are the things which came in my mind when you talked about the knowledge and skill. So I'll come back again. Thank you so very much.
Deshpande sir, we are all talking about internship embedded courses, skill connected courses. So how at your university you're thinking about this new concept which is coming where students are partially in classroom and partially working in industry?
So basically, it's we have to look at education from a broad point of view, and in my opinion, the medium of instruction is not the key aspect here, whereas the attainment of the learning outcome is. Naturally, from there it comes that wherever that learning that is required, which feeds into the attainment of the learning outcome, that is where it should happen, and naturally that's where it should come from. But it has to be, at the same time, be able to be quantified, and therefore whatever fits in is something that we have to always keep in mind and look at it from that point of view. Weighing in on the word skill, because then in this same context the word skill comes. You have to embed the skill, and you have to embed the skill, so you add there is this term called value-added courses. The term itself is so dichotomic, I have never understood, because that means the entire degree course is not value-adding and this is the only value-adding thing. So that this kind of a dichotomy I always fail to understand. But the more important thing is that whatever the courses we are running, what is the learning outcome that we are aiming at? Primarily, it is the knowledge. That is what we are seeking to address in the student through a particular credential that is being offered. Thereafter comes inside that all these other aspects of knowledge, skills, attitude, subsidiary skills, supporting skills, and vocational skills, if required for that program, and not just because some employer needs it. Not because there is going to be some certification at the end of it and somebody approaches me and saying, okay, sir, you are, basically people come to us and say, they don't say it to our face, but they say this, that you are useless. See, we have this industry certification, and because of this, your students are going to become more employable. Now, that, in my opinion, hubris.
One more point to add.
Yes, sir. Please.
Many times when we are thinking that we'll add these things to their coursework that students do, we think that everybody is going to do a fixed syllabus and everybody has to do the same thing. We forget that we can't have the entire society learning the same thing and coming out with the same skills. They have to have a choice. They have to have all possible options. That those who want more of skills, more of research orientation, whatever the options will be, we have to keep the option open to the students to take it. We have somehow taken out that choice from the students' hand, right from admissions, where we see most of those decisions seem to be taken by parents at that point also. And then later the student is fixed into that slot and he has to, or she has to complete what we give, exactly that same knowledge they have to pick everybody in the class. So giving them more choices to take that call, I think will be a requirement.
Absolutely true, sir. The next point which I wish to raise with all the panelists, because with the choice-based credit system, we have expanded the horizon, flexibility, more choices, basket is made available to the student. But that rightly told by Bhagwat sir, that most of the student choices are based on either their parents insisting on or their peers insisting on. So when you go and check the examination data, because choice-based credit system is already started implementation 2019 under UGC guidelines. Now we see examination data, in case you give 13 choices, 14 choices in a specialization or any other bigger basket to the student, at the end of the day, only 2 or 3 subjects were chosen by the same set of students. Hardly 1 or 2 students goes beyond that for some or other reason, because there is no teaching process available. So how really make it possible that the choice-based credit system or more options are available to the student, not on paper or on a syllabus, but really they are executed? Because otherwise at the end of the day, when we have buffet, but like our mothers give, this is all thali is available. If in case you want to have, this is only available option. And the title is choice-based credit system. So how we can see that we can expand, may not be 100%, but more than whatever is presently available.
I think we need to inculcate the habit of making their own choices and facing the consequences from an earlier age. A student today at 15 or 16 years of age, when they have to make a choice, they're not ready. And it's our fault as parents. I mean, I'm not talking now as a teacher, I'm talking about as a parent. If our kid is not ready to make that choice, it is our fault. We have not probably made them used to making small choices and facing the consequences of that. And then, therefore, they would run like the herd mentality of either going with what peers are doing or what parents are telling or somebody else is saying. It is rarely their own choice.
Saili Madam, basically my question to you is, everybody wants to become IT engineer or computer engineering, irrespective of whatever choices they have. Without understanding, they have a forte of a capacity to learn IT or computer. So how you handle this kind of parent sentiments forcing students to choose only their choices?
Yeah, I think still in India, the typical thought process and decision making is always there from the family, right? The reason is the population, opportunities, and then preparing for that, right? So you do not have that much of, see, when we take a decision, the decision would be taken by a person who is aware what is happening around him. How the kid will know that what is happening around him. And then what parent knows is the only source of information to him that my parent says is right, right? So there is no choice for him to follow what his father or parent or sister or maybe a friend influence him. This will happen when we have lots of opportunities available. There are so many role models and success stories coming in, right, which can fascinate that I want to be this, right? I think that choice we are not able to do it. So since we know it very well, at the age I think in the 4th standard, we start preparing kids for the IITs and IIMs, right? So what's the fun of it? So there only you're killing him or his own instinct, what he wants to be in his life. So, and we talk about, no, the parents are taking the decision because they are totally dependent on them. We have to really understand, and therefore national education policy is talking about the same thing. Give them the information, give them the choices. As you rightly said, choices, the credit basket which we are talking about. Education should be a transition and transformation process. That I should realize that this is required to me. And I think that famous cartoon is there that the tree is given and everyone wants to rise on the tree, right from the small insect to elephant, right? So how it can be? So we need to really look into it, and as a teacher, as a parent, we have to counsel the kids, we have to look at our children so that we can tell them, no, you go for mechanical, you go for civil. Why? What is the reason for that? I think that we need to really give us the sound-based or we can the information-based decision, right? So then they will have a faith that what they are doing very well. So thank you.
Sir, UGC has given mandate that 20% credit can be obtained from any other institute which is recognized institute, and now you can do it for 40% also of the courses. But practically when you look that going through the process and taking permission of the head of the department before you start semester and synchronize them is really Herculean task. And at the end of the day, when you try to find out in lakhs of students, hardly 100 or 200 students have obtained for that flexibility which is provided. So how you think that it can be really exhibited rather than it remains on the paper?
So before I come to that, just a little funny one for your earlier question, that generally there is a lack of natural intelligence. That's why the increase in enrollment in artificial intelligence programs. That's what is going on. Anyway, coming to this, see, I think the genesis of all these issues are coming from a very serious malaise in the system which is administering higher education. NEP has been a great document, but what is happening after that is actually worrisome, to be very, very honest, and I will be very candid about it. These people pick up the Carnegie unit which came in 1910 and supplant it in 2021 as the choice-based credit system. 110 years, these people have not evolved. That is the level where we are taking things, but without actually giving enough thought behind it. Student mobility is a great idea. It has been practiced in the entire European Union when Europe actually got unified. They had the Bologna process. As a result of that, they built in a student mobility across institutions, but there were rules associated with that which were clearly laid out. Even in the US university system, there is a transfer of credit, but there are standard rules like federal rules that from third year onward there is no transfer. So any transfer that happens is maximum at the first year or the second year level. Now these kind of nuances of a great idea, unless they are brought into our system, these things won't work. And that is what is the issue. We are just thinking, okay, that's a great idea. Yes, fundamentally it's a great idea for the student to have choices. Their learning should be, could be done at any place, but it would be better if it is a part of an institutional cooperation framework rather than a student choice. Like if I would work with either of these two great institutions represented on my right-hand side, and I'll say, sir, you teach this course very well. Can our students have this course at your university and transfer those credits at my place? That is something that would be wonderful. But otherwise, if a student of mine goes knocking on his door and says, no, I want to study, you'll say, where did you come from? And why you want to be here? Right from there, the issues will crop up. So therefore, it is essential that we have to go into the nuances. And if the rule makers are not doing it, maybe our fraternity can do it within ourselves, at least if not on a state basis, at the local basis. And finally, to the very first question that you asked, we have small experiment, that's why I want to share that with you. We always had this issue that despite the choices in our system since 2016, since the inception of the university, the students were not making those choices. So now we have a small cadre called Student Success Faculty, whose role is student advising, so that the students are advising as to what kind of choices they should make and what directions they should take.
Thank you, sir. To implement his new education policy, the major challenge faced by all higher education institutes is training of teachers. And the most question in all seminars is asked by the teaching load. But I think on the other side, we should also look for the learning load, whichever good institution in this country. Students are asked for self-learning, group learning, peer learning encouraged. So how to inculcate this learning load among the students so that they participate or they become partner in learning process rather than a spectator? Sir, your call.
At the outset, I would take objection to the word teaching load and learning load because we are calling it load. I would say it's teaching contributions by an individual teacher, and the learning should also not be a load. If the student is picking what they want to learn, it is actually not a load. If we are forcing that you have to learn this, then it becomes a load. Here, let me proudly tell the example of what we do at ICER. Our students do not start as a BSc chemistry student or a BSc biology student. Our students join a science program. First 1.5 years, they have a common subjects where they learn all our 8 subjects, physics, chemistry, maths, biology. In addition to it, humanities, data science, earth and climate science. They have all these as a bouquet in front of them, which they take those courses from. And then, it is at that stage that the students make their choice. And if they take certain number of credits in a certain subject area, they may graduate with a major in that. Or else they graduate as a bachelor, or BS or MS science. Why I'm telling you this example is, instead of making them make that choice just after 12th, if you give them a little more time, give them an exposure, and then expect them to make a choice. We have data science too, and we don't have this issue that the entire batch wants to take data science. Let them first see everything and then make that choice.
Madam, recent circular which has come that major minor can be chosen at a later stage, not at the first stage, because students are basically not aware of the making better choices. So there was a little bit confusion. So how you are looking at all this? Recent, this month only, we have circular.
Actually, I think the program structure which we are designing. And if we are really clear that what we want to produce or what is our outcome of that particular program structure, then we can talk about major and minor. We always talk about major, minor, interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, but why? If that is been answered very well by the subject teachers, those who are designing syllabuses, that how it will really complement to the major as a minor subject and why I should take it. See, what is happening, it's like a, analogy अशी द्यायची असेल तर, की तुम्ही फिटनेस राहण्यासाठी सगळे विटॅमिन्स घ्या. पण मला गरज आहे का? Do I need that vitamin for my health or not? We are not checking it. Someone says that I'm taking this and because this protein powder makes me strong, that's why I start taking protein powder. Someone says that no, for your skin you need to take E vitamin, so I'm taking E vitamin, right? So is really, that's what my question to myself and my faculty member is, that we have to really think that why are we doing this? What exactly we want to have an outcome out of it, right? So what is major and minor? How it should really complement with each other? Why should I go for interdisciplinary education? Why should I go for economics? Why should I go for finance? Or why should I go for project management for another kind of the faculty if the student is coming from? I think we need to really analyze our own needs, understand the environment, what they are expecting us, and based on that we should go for the major and minor. Creating subject basket, defining the number of credits, the compulsory, right? This has required to be a benchmark and everyone has an appetite to really go for it. We cannot give the justice to 22 credit to directly to the 40 credit, right? I've seen that there are many the universities where they offer 0.25 credit, How do you define 0.25 credit, right? How much hours are required to be really invested into it? I think all these are required to be assessed properly. Then we can say that yes, major and minor can be, or else it will be again a degree with the new tagline, MBA plus plus, right? What do you mean by that? MBA is an MBA degree, plus plus is what, right? So I think we have to really think about that what we want to market, what we want to design, what we want to have the outcome. So major and minor can be on those lines. And let students get that experience in industry, come back. I've seen that student coming back from industry saying that I don't want to go for this specialization now. I want to go for the specialization. These are the subjects which are very important to my functional domain, right? Or my operational areas. So let them get that experience, what you asked, sir, that learning process. So learning on the job training, project management, all if that happen, learning from peers, what you have said, right? So this will help him to enhance or really make a sound decision. This is what my suggestion is. So major and minor, it's again the new phenomena, we can say that. Anyways, thank you.
See, what is the purpose of a minor at the end of the day? The purpose of the minor is, from my point of view broadly, as one, if a student has a passion in a certain area, so a student takes a minor in that just to see, to their own qualification, like I am learning law and if I take a minor in AI, it might help because that's where the law profession is going to go. So there is an adjacency. Or there is a pure quest for knowledge into a particular area. If I want to learn about history because I've been interested in history, but I am an engineering student, fair enough. So this is basically, again, that's what at least at our place we do, that is through the student success faculty, we advise the student what are those between these three categories, which of the kind of minors they should take. And the selection of a minor is at the second year stage than the initial stage, because there is a certain level of maturity with the student. And not only that, the student has now developed a better, hopefully, a better understanding of what the outlook is going to be like. So that is how the minor, so in my opinion, minor is a good thing. But at the same time, one has to also keep in mind from a compulsion point of view. Because one of the things that I find is, we often talk everything in terms of student teaching time. Whereas the key thing should be the student learning time. And that's where everything fails. If the student is loaded too much with the coursework, Now, as such, we have seen they have made 20 credits in a term as per the NETQF, which is a highly regressive thing in my opinion. And there is mathematics to show and research to show also that this is actually a student cannot do that much work to be able to go into a depth of a subject. And on top of that, and if you are going to load a minor also, then the student really has to be an exceptional student to handle that kind of a coursework. If the student is average or less than exceptional, then I also would have two minds about suggesting a minor even to such a student.
Thank you, sir.
The idea of an additional minor is perhaps for the exceptional student, not for everybody. And secondly, if the choice of whether they should have an additional subject minor or not, if we leave it to the teachers, those who have themselves studied a single stream knowledge, that may not be best of the idea. If you ask the employer, ask the industry, they want biologist requirement for a good employment. Whereas when we try to give education for our convenience, if we make them straight-jacketed, that's not going to work.
Absolutely correct. Last question before we go for the final remark, but this question is very, very important. So far, we have used to have paper-pencil examination system. And on paper, we show that in syllabus it is concurrent and continuous evaluation. But it's only mechanical assessment or giving homework, something like that, where students are not holistically assessed properly. It is a thought process that after every unit is being taught, some kind of assessment, not only paper and pencil, can be carried out, and the feedback is shared with the student where is lacking short. But taking into consideration the ratio of student-teacher and the time frame of one semester, starting from admission to the examination, a lot of things are remain on paper. So how we think that assessment and evaluation in NEP 2020 will really make student aware of where he is standing and what improvement is required for him for more better learning.
So eventually, the purpose of assessment boils down from the credential. There is a credential, there has to be an evidence for that credential, so there is assessment, and through that assessment, so it should be the other way around, that because assessment should be used for basically reporting on the attainment of the student rather than reporting on as an evidence at the end of it. Having said that, I would give extraordinary importance to what we call as formative assessment. Summative assessment could be a necessity in certain areas, but not in all areas. Again, it's a subject-based requirement determined by the faculty and it, as per the teaching plan of the faculty. Where the faculty decide that this is how I'm going to measure the attainment of the learning opportunity to the student for self-reflection, and this particular subject, whereas the faculty is teaching the entire class in a mass medium. So this is how ideally the assessment is to be used. And if this is effectively used, it definitely will result into betterment of the quality of delivery of education. And not only that, it will also end up having a better assessment at the end of it, which is reflected in the student transcript. I would also like to even suggest that if this is deployed, then like transcripts, there should be a student portfolio. Like it happens at least in architecture programs and design program, but I would suggest that it should be something that should happen across disciplines, where a student portfolio is the artifact of the work that the student has done. So a potential employer tomorrow would be able to go beyond just the grades and see what the student has done, and if that matches what the employer needs, and not necessarily the grades, because the employer is taking in a person, not the grades. The person is going to work for the employer, so that portfolio as an artifact could be much helpful, and that should also be a subset of the entire assessment system.
Saili madam, there is an advertisement of Dabur Honey, where they tell that the Dabur Honey goes through 18 types of tests. And here we find that student dictators that what tests should be conducted and what should not be conducted. So the product which is going to be tested for industry, the product decide what has to be done, what not has to be done. And even if that test has to be done, they need advanced information of all types of question bank. So how you look at it, where students are nowadays more demanding about easiness in evaluation and assessment process?
I think we as a teacher, we know our students very well. So we can make it out when the student starts speaking about any terminology or the concept, when we use the various tools and techniques for the assessment. We always talk about what is outcome-based education. I don't need to tell, everyone is aware of it. And we know the criterias, assessment criterias, evaluating, collecting those evidences, right, what Sir was talking about. But at the end of the day, or when we talk about any program assessment, we identify on two benchmarks. One is that what is the behavioral and knowledge and skill change is been seen in that the student, and we can make it out. I still remember we used to click the photograph of the student when he used to join the program, and then after the 4 years where he is and how the transformation is seen. So can we have those assessment criteria which can be done? And at the end, how many takers are there? So at the end of the day, placement comes, right? Whatever maybe a student is having 80% marks, 90% marks, or 60%, how many students got the placement? And those are based on one, of course, the percentage of marks. Second is projects where they have done it. And third one is that what value addition they brings on the table, right? So I think that should be the assessment, and for that we all should work very, very hard.
I would like to add that the examinations or anything in general, we say this is the best way of doing it. It doesn't ensure that it is a good way of doing it. Best is only by comparison, right? How many times we have seen that somebody who was a middling in the class is having an excellent career, whereas the topper of the class is struggling throughout the career. So we need to accept that these examinations are not the best way of really evaluating. They are not really a good way of evaluating. Maybe we don't have anything better. There are some more innovative ways, like we have surprise quizzes, like we have open book examination. They still are not perfect. So the real test lies in the final life. And as much as we can try to make an examination close to a real life, it will turn out to be realistic. But we don't have those kind of methods available for us today. And when we have such imperfect methods of evaluation, then the student, and we can't blame the student for doing that, the student then tries to aim not for the learning, but focusing on how the examination is going to be. And there is a very famous economics principle called Goodhart's law, that when a measure becomes the target, it ceases to be a good measure. So examinations is something which we have to keep in mind, that they're there because we don't have anything better.
Thank you, panelists. Last very important thing is, as we are already started rolling out the new education policy, as an institution, how you see that one challenge which you see that which need more working on it in higher education, basically, or in your institution?
I think two important things which are to be taken care in any campuses. One is faculty and second is research. So I think that's the only worry which everyone should have. Students, they'll come to you, provided we have the best academic culture, where the faculties are really well, what I can say, that informed, aware of what is happening around. They have that passion to go in industry and work, come back and share that knowledge, right? Rather than calculating what Sir has said, that load, right? So, because Peter Drucker also said the same thing, right? What you have uttered the words. He also said that how it can be a job stress, right? How can you have an individual stress? That is what he said. When you are going for a job, it should be a job, and you should be happy with that. The same is there. So unless and faculty and the research culture is there in the campuses, I think that will help us to really strive for. And if we do that, that's the best thing to do it. So in education policies or any organization, have more the investment in the faculty and the research activities. Thank you.
So the challenge is like this, that it goes like, I am the master of this house and I have the permission to say so from my wife. You know, the NEP has given us the whole blue sky, and thereafter all these different directives that are coming. So I really don't understand, yeah, I am the master of this house or actually what? And then every month or two somebody is asking, NEP का क्या किया? वो ये टेबल में भर के भेजो, वो टेबल में भर के भेजो, अरे है क्या? I mean, that's what is going on right now. And that I feel, because in good earnest, I believe all good institutions that are represented here, including ours, they are all making great efforts. In their own way, some could qualify with the NEP terminology, some may not. But the efforts are in the direction of improvement, because everybody understands what it is. To mistrust those efforts, to assume that everybody is doing wrong and we are the only ones to correct them, is basically the biggest fallacy of this entire policy domain. And once that straightens up, that's one. Second, I believe the force of competition itself and the force of the changing dynamics of the world itself is the greatest realization upon all educators, that there is a positive change required in everything that we do. So that, and with the template of the NEP, I think these two things are sufficient enough, and that should sail us through.
Bhagwat sir.
Yeah, you asked about challenges, right? And I represent actually not one institution. I was for a very long time at UDCT Mumbai, Institute of Chemical Technology. And I also go as accreditation evaluator all over the country. So there are a few things I would like to comment here. Yes, faculty is one of the biggest challenge we are going to have in numbers. But in, I won't even say quality, but what kind of faculty we are looking at. On one hand, we have institutions where they are so research focused, is that the teachers are also researchers, and some of them, our worry is that they are so focused on research that they ignore the teaching part. And on the other extreme, professional education institutions also I am now talking about, is places where the teachers are teachers because they could not get an industrial job. Now, when you have that situation, and those teachers who teach the students today, and we expect them to perform very well later on, I think the biggest challenge is being able to find the right kind of faculty.
Thank you very much, all the panelists. Basically, NEP is not 2-minute noodles where you can just put hot water and get the outcome at the end of the day. NEP is giving us the more flexibility, and all higher education institutes are trying their level best to see that these all experiments of creating a better human being at the end of the day comes out. So it is not that tomorrow or in 1 year, as sir was telling, that it is not on compliance mode. Basically, we should not look that today we have started MET and then next year we'll want to see that how the employability has increased or some parameters have changed. I think still we have sufficient time of 11 years to get it completed. Phase-wise, every institute will have their own trials and errors, and then they will improve upon their systems and processes to see that something better can be done out of this. So I'm very thankful to all my panel members, Dr. Hriday Deshpande sir, Dr. Saili Gankar madam, and Dr. Sunil Bhagwat sir, who has really made effort to come here and share their views in their busy schedule. I'm thankful to Bharat Agarwal ji, who has brought all us up together, and all who are sitting, who are patiently listening beyond the scheduled time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I invite on stage Mr. Bharat Agarwal, sir, to felicitate the panelists. With this very interesting session, we come to the end of Edufest 2024. Before we bid you goodbye, I would like to thank the event partners, Principal Partner PERA, Platinum Partner MIT ADT University, Gold Partner Pimpri Chinchwad University, Silver Partner ASM Group of Universities, and last but not the least, Vishwakarma University. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for patiently listening to us. Good evening.